So this is video number 8 on spinners with balls. These are numbers 19 and 20 for the actual designs on the STLs. And I'm just going to apologize up front. I have the hiccups. Pretty sure they're from a steroid injection yesterday. So I don't want to do 400 edits to remove all the hiccups. So I'm just going to apologize in advance for that's coming. I'll try to not have actual hiccup noises, but there is that little stutter thing going on. So this is a more complex design than most of the previous ones. Overall, everything is basically inside the initial sketch. So I'm going to roll it back to the sketch and open it up. So how this is designed, you have the center circles as usual for the placement of the bearings. And then I have a spline that goes out all the way, comes back down, and you can see the points where the spline was placed. And then the same thing, this one was actually resized to fit this size. That way it was uniform and I didn't have to recreate the spline. And then I created the circle that will be extruded or cut out in the final for the placement of the 1/4 inch ball bearings. So I extruded that design out for the initial one, and then I did the circular pattern to copy it around like this. And then I did a combine simply to make the fillets work more like what I was expecting them to. If you don't do a combination before you do the fillets, sometimes you can have odd things happen where it wants to do a fillet in the reverse position than you think it should be. The hiccups are getting worse. Anyway, I did a fillet on the outer edge, then I did a fillet on the bottom outer edge, and then I did fillets around all the holes, and that second one was doing this section on the bottom, and then I do the same on the top with the next. You could go ahead and do smaller fillets for each one of these as well, but like in the case of this, that's selecting 5 lines for each one. So with the 2 sides and the 10, pardon me, going all the way around, that would be what, 100 lines that you have to select just to do that row. So for this design I didn't mess with it. You're welcome to do whatever you would like with your own designs. The cap for this one, I went with something different. It looks the same from the top, and I've started doing split caps and it actually helps them to fit better. But I went with like a flower design on the inside. This is basically, you can let me roll back to the sketch. Pardon me. I did a single spline around. Actually, I may have copied from the spinner itself. That's most likely I copied from the spinner and then dropped it on here. And then I did the circular pattern to copy it all the way around. Then when you do the extrusion, I did an extrusion for everything except for the flower. Then I finished that part up for the actual cap, and then I worked on the spacer and the actual piece that goes in the hole, and then I created the hole or the inner hole and the rectangle that helps it fit a little better. And then I chamfer the top to make it slip in a tad bit easier to begin with. And then I did a fillet on the top. And then I did the necessary combines. And that last part isn't actually there. I did the combine just so that when you actually go to generate the 3D, the STL, it generates properly. Alright, so on to spinner number 20. So this one is a similar design. It's still a lotus blossom type of style, or that was the intention. It just looks much more complex. So let's roll back to the sketch. Pardon me for the hiccups still. In this case I did a single sketch. It was a copy from the previous, and instead of starting them at the same point, this one and this one at the same point, I actually offset them, since I planned on placing the ball bearing in between. I didn't need the extra space available in the actual blossom or petal, whatever you would like to call it. Then I did a circular pattern all the way around for the circle where the bearing goes, the outer edge, and the lotus blossom design, as well as the two circles that hold the bearing in place. So I'm going to stop that sketch, and this sketch, the second sketch that's on the history, is for the cap, so we'll just skip over that for now, because I did it slightly out of order on this one. I actually designed the cap first, and it's identical to the other cap, just a slight difference in size. Okay, so back to the spinner itself. So this is extruded up to 7mm, which is the height of the bearing. Selecting all the parts to extrude up can take a while, because each of those tiny little parts has to be individually selected. Although arguably it would have been easier to select everything and then deselect the components that didn't need to be extruded. And then I did a fillet, pretty deep fillet, on the top and the bottom for the outer edge, and for the inside of the where the bearings are, where the steel shot or steel bearings are actually placed for the weighted edge. Then I actually came back through and redid the outside edge, a little tighter fillet, and then the combine to make sure everything shows up in the print like it's supposed to. So while it looks like a much more complex spinner than most of the previous designs, in actuality it doesn't take that long to create the design. Once you have a general idea of what you want to do in your head, you just need to fill around with it. But by being able to do the patterns, it makes very quick work of the overall design. So let's take a look and see how they turned out after they were printed. I still have the hiccups, so I don't want to do 400 edits to remove them, so I'm just going to apologize now for the hiccups. So here's number 19, acetone. If it was printed in ABS with some acetone smoothing, it would come out quite a bit better than it is with the PLA, but overall it actually spins quite well. It's a bit of a gyroscopic effect because there is a fair amount of weight around the perimeter. And this is number 20. Again, this would work better in ABS and smoothed. This bearing is quite a bit noisier than the other, but other than that, I think it actually spins better. So there are those two. There's 19 and 20. And get those going, stacked on top of each other. So until next time, keep designing.